tend to settle to the earth more quickly. So they can stay up there for years, the aluminium oxide. Aluminium is linked with, causes Alzheimer's, almost forgot then, Alzheimer's type effects, and memory loss, generally bad for your system. It gets into your blood and passes through the blood-brain barrier. You mix it with barium, it becomes even more lethal. This is Dennis Kucinich, who is probably one of the only people in Congress to stand up and get an act together, get his act together if you like, the Space Preservation Act, a bill to preserve the cooperative peaceful means of space, peaceful uses of space for the benefit of all mankind, humankind, very PC, by permanently prohibiting the basing of weapons in space by the United States, and to require the President to take action to adopt and implement a world treaty banning space-based weapons. And here, this is a copy of the Act. Chemtrails. It talks about electronic, psychotronic, or information weapons. Chemtrails, high-altitude, ultra-low frequency weapon systems, plasma, electromagnetic, sonic or ultrasonic weapons, laser weapons, chemical, biological, climate or tectonic weapons. That infers that they can cause earthquakes. Well, they can. I'll come to that later. So chemtrails are in there, and funny enough, that term was removed from the Act. It's not there anymore. Presumably from a bit of bad press. This is the US Defense Secretary at the time, talking with Michael Portillo. Michael Portillo, you may remember, was the chap that sat on the Panorama program roughly a year before 7/7 blew up on us, and discussed the likelihood of a terrorist attack in 3 tube stations and a road vehicle. And they went through all the likely scenarios, and I'd very much like to ask Michael Portillo what he thought of that coincidence. And the list goes on. There's a great film I encourage everyone to see, 7/7, The Ripple Effect. Do you have it? For sale here, I think, Margaret. Yeah. So, yeah, coincidence. But this chap on the left is the chap I want to speak to you about. My notes are a bit all over the shop. I've actually forgotten his name, that's terrible. William Cohen, sorry about that. That's the Alzheimer's. William Cohen was the US Defense Secretary, and he spoke of the weather weapons and weather technology. Former US Defense Secretary William Cohen warned that terrorists are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off volcanoes and earthquakes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts. Nice tie.
Nice eyes. What's going on with him?
They're very Aryan looking, isn't he? But there he is. There's a US Defense Secretary admitting that these technologies exist. What he's omitting is the fact that the US administration and their military are in fact the real terrorists. So it's all a big boogeyman game, isn't it? But people die from these monsters, and that's why we do what we do, to try and stop it. Because the less people can be mugged along, the less hopefully it may happen. The House of Commons report is the regulation of geoengineering. People may ask, well, surely our government wouldn't do this to us. They have our best interests at heart. They love us. They're not career politicians. The House of Commons Science and Technology Committee, the regulation of geoengineering, 2009 to 10. Report, together with, I'm going to take this article from Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars. There's not many great journalists, and I don't mean that in the Masonic sense, in Britain. Whoever he's worked for, doesn't matter. He's one of the best, so I'm going to read a bit of his article. The House of Commons report entitled "The Regulation of Geoengineering" was compiled by the Government Science and Technology Committee in collaboration with the US House of Representatives Science and Technology Committee. It demonstrates how seriously both governments are looking at the idea of manipulating the planet's climate. So they're talking about it in the House of Commons, regulating geoengineering, be it from sulfur dioxides and aerosol spraying from aircraft, or imitating the effect of a volcano to block out the sun, putting space mirrors up, you name it. They're sitting there and they're talking about it. We may need geoengineering as a plan B, if in the event of the failure of plan A, the reduction of greenhouse gases, we are faced with a highly disruptive climate change, the report states. If we start work now, it will provide the opportunity to fully explore the technological, environmental, political and regulatory issues, it continues. The report also notes the idea of, there's something missing here, isn't it? They're already doing it. They're already spraying for the last 15 years around the planet. But they're just discussing it. We might have to do that in the future. You know, but we're going to need funding. What you've got to do is look up every day. We recommend that the government give greater priority to public engagement on geoengineering by, for example, showing how it relates to its policy on the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions. It describes several different proposed methods of geoengineering, including spraying sulfate aerosols into the stratosphere, to mimic the cooling effect produced by volcanic eruptions, as well as placing mirrors in space to reflect the sun's rays away from the Earth, a technique known as solar radiation management. We're gods, let's manage the planet. We can manage the climate, we can change it. We don't have to tell the public. They can just die like bugs. To hell with the rivers being polluted as well. We can clean it up, we've got the technology, probably, just do it. Something wrong with these people, these scientists. We're living under a scientific dictatorship. That's what it is, that's what all the think tanks are still discussing now. A Brave New World, revisited, if you like. Aldous Huxley, Bertrand Russell. All these elite, aristocratic psychopaths are running the planet, and perhaps always have done. And they're guiding society, and it's death for anyone who opposes it or hasn't earned enough money over generations to be elite and special and a different species, which is what they actually think they are. So that's what we're dealing with. Banksters with a lot of money, a lot of gall, and absolutely no conscience. That is your enemy. That is the war on humanity. But they've got to dress it up, and they own the media. Rothschild owns Reuters, which gives the news to AP, Associated Press, which then dishes it out across the planet. And the journalists are given handouts, etc. And most of them don't even write the stories, so they just get drunk in the Red Lion next to the House of Commons and take the wage packet. But I digress. I've actually lost my list of who these people are, but I should remember. Oh, this is the President of the Royal Society. People involved in this House of Commons report. Yes, a highly Freemasonic society, very old, the Royal Society. Sir Paul Nurse, which I think is a great name for somebody geoengineering the planet without any regard to the consequences of your health. Mr. Nurse. One notable member of the Royal Society is James Lovelock, an eco-fascist who advocates ending democracy and instituting an authoritative elite to oversee global climate management. He's also a patron of the Optimum Population Institute, a notorious UK-based public policy group that campaigns for the gradual decline in the global human population. Campaigns for it to what it sees as a sustainable level, and you'll hear that word everywhere. My toilet is sustainable, it's everywhere. The United Nations tells me what kind of toilet I can use. I need a sustainable visit to the loo. It's everywhere. Sustainable, sustainable, sustainable. Apparently we're not sustainable, so we've got to go. These are the nuts that I'm introducing. He's an ardent advocate of geoengineering, James Lovelock, in the name of controlling the climate. In 2007, Lovelock, this is still support Paul Nurse, so James Lovelock, Gaia, Mother Earth, books from, in the 90s. He proposed laying vast swathes of pipes under the world's oceans in order to pump water from the bottom of the seas, rich in nutrients but mostly dead, to the top, for algae to breed, a chemical known to seed sunlight reflecting clouds, dimethyl sulfide. So that's the House of Commons report. What they failed to mention is that they've been doing it for years. Who's patron of the Optimum Population Trust from the UK? I thought I'd include this nice predatory symbolism here. Sir David. Now, we've all grown up with Sir David, the big father figure who's been dishing out lots of wonderful information. Here is a bird which is ultimately far more important than you. I want to depopulate the planet, and I'm a psychopath, naturally. So while he's cavorting with gorillas, he's actually enjoying the demise, or planning the demise of the public, and he's obviously on board as the figurehead. It's a good idea! Jump off a cliff for the planet. There's too many of you anyway, etc., etc. Sick man. Another psychopath. Here's one. John P. Holdren, the current White House science czar. Of Obama administration. He wrote a book in 1977 called Eco-Science. He's a White House science czar. He's a key advisor who infamously co-authored a book in which he called for a planetary regime, and you can get the book, it's about £500. He called for a planetary regime to enforce draconian population control measures such as forced abortion, infanticide and mandatory sterilisation. In April last year, Holden revealed that the high-level talks had already taken place to explore the possibility of geoengineering the environment by shooting pollution particles into the upper atmosphere to reflect the sun's rays. It's got to be looked at, he said. It's got to be looked at. He's quoted as saying, "We don't have the luxury of taking any approach off the table." The AP, Associated Press, also reported that Holden said he had raised the concept in administration discussions. Well, Obama has no real power. His job is to lie to the public, any politician, lie to the public like a good psychopath, and sign a few treaties and have a few prostitution parties now and again at your expense. Such interest in... So these people are the scientists behind the White House table, the House of Commons. They advise, you see. They yield extraordinary power. Who are they? Apparently when he walks into a room, even Rockefeller almost bows down. Who are these people? Where do they breed them? Such intense interest in exploring geoengineering and implementing an overarching global authority on the matters mirrors publications penned by the ultra-elite Council on Foreign Relations. In a document entitled Geo-Engineering Workshop on Unilateral Planetary Scale Geoengineering, the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, which is in itself a sister wing of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which sets policy virtually worldwide, of which Margaret Thatcher said, "We don't leave." She's quoted as saying, Margaret Thatcher, "Wonder why she stripped the country so much. Why did she make so many big mistakes? Shutting the coal mines, everything down. Why did she make such vast mistakes that didn't benefit the people? Whoops-a-daisy." Because after office, she goes to Canada and gives a talk entitled "The New World Order." That's who she is. She's Royal Institute of International Affairs, and she's quoted as saying, I'm digressing, but I want to give you an idea who these people are and who real power is. We don't leave government when we leave office. We go higher. We join the shadow government. That way we're not accountable to the people. It's more efficient. We can get things done. So off she goes and gives a talk on the New World Order. Yeah, so the CFR is a sister wing of that. I've been there. You knock on their blue Masonic sky blue door, the big lion's knocker, and they're in St James's Square. It's a fairly innocuous looking building, a stone's throw from the Buckingham Palace, that gives royal charters for this kind of thing to the Royal Society, etc., paedophilia, etc. Anyway, Fred Singer, president of the Science Environmental Policy Project and a skeptic of man-made global warming theories, has warned that the consequences of tinkering with the planet's delicate ecosystem could have far-reaching dangers. If you do this on a continuous basis, you would depress the ozone layer and cause all sides. So there are all sorts of problems. So there are voices of dissent now and again. They don't last long in their jobs, or worse, or both. I'll give you an example of that later too. Even Greenpeace's chief UK scientist, a staunch advocate of the man-made global warming explanation, Doug Parr, has attempts to geoengineer the planet as outlandish and dangerous. We're talking about Greenpeace a bit later on as well. So that's a great article from Paul Joseph Watson. That's the book that he wrote, Eco Science, John P. Holdren, the current White House Science Czar. Some more chemtrails spreading out. That was probably laid about 10 seconds before this shot was taken. About a minute. You can see the heavy metals oxide beginning to pour out from the gravity itself. It's not going up. And they've obviously been at it all day there. So they're painting the sky. Perhaps they think they're artists. Quite why, quite how you get into a plane and do that. What kind of story they must tell you. What kind of mind control you must be under, or something, or drugs, or don't worry, we'll give you advanced military medicine. For whatever reason, it's killing a lot of people and absolutely devastating the environment and the rivers and the soils. If you don't care about yourselves, at least you'll want to leave a clean planet behind. Because we're being trained to, our survival instincts have been trained out of us through the media, like we don't matter. Euthanasia, it's fine. Have an abortion, it's fine. Etc. Get sterilised, it's fine. Save the planet, etc. But they're going to come out very soon and say, yep, we're doing it, but it's for your own good. And by that time everyone will be like, yeah, I think that's my opinion. Yeah, I agree, and that's my opinion. Climate Gate, I'm going to skip all the Climate Gate and sort of global warming nonsense, because it has been exposed as a fraud, and I did cover it a lot in the last talk, so I'll leave all the articles here for people to see. Climate Gates, when all the emails from the University of East Anglia was hacked, God bless them, the hackers, and showed that they were fixing the figures and frauding and threatening scientists to hide the decline in temperature. It's not actually warming. CO2 is not our enemy. And by the way, a large percentage of us is carbon, so I guess that's us out the window as well. I wanted to talk about the SPICE project. Here's some more examples. I think that's California again, or Arizona. Well, people are complaining in Arizona now that there's no blue skies. An inconvenient arrest. Al Gore, he's the poster boy for the global warming, climate change now. Scam, fraud. Again, there's the Church of Climatology. I thought I'd lighten things up a bit. What a guy!
All of them in the zoo, eh?
The D's is his illustration.
Yeah.
Obama! Okay, the SPICE project, I'll get to this. The First Global Revolution is a book by the Club of Rome that mentions that mankind is the enemy, etc., etc. Sorry my notes are all over the place, but when I went to the printing shop, the internet cafe, it was now a shop. So I had to run down the other side of town with 2 broken ribs. That's why they're all a bit all over the place. A bit of a shame. But this is the First Global Revolution. It's a report by the infamous, that's in my hand, the infamous Club of Rome think tank. This is how the world is ran, by private organisations, by charities, by think tanks, all working for the various royal families and the international bankers. They've always ran the show. First Global Revolution, a report by the Council of the Club of Rome. On page 75 of their 1990 publication, it would seem that humans need a common motivation, namely a common adversary, to organise and act together in the vacuum. Such a motivation must be found to bring the divided nations together to face an outside enemy, either a real one or else one invented for the purpose. This is a massive think tank, one of the big daddies along with the Royal Institute of International Affairs. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine and the like would fit the bill. Fit the bill. I'll read that again. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine and the like, that would fit the bill. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it's only through changed attitudes and behaviour that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. You're the problem. They create the problem. It's the Hegelian dialectic, I guess. You know, you can probably repeat it back to me. Problem, reaction, solution. So they've created the problem. We react and beg that you do something about the climate because it's terrible. What will you do? And they come up with the solution. Geo-Engineering, etc. While they've been bumping people off since well before World War II. The SPICE project, you're going to love this. Climate fix technical test put on hold. That's basically, they want to pump lots of stuff into the air and create a volcano effect. But it's having a delay because more talk with the public and more consultation is needed. It means they've probably done it, you know. So I'm going to move on from the climate. I'm also going to skip the Dorset biological trials. If you're worried that are they doing it now or not, they've done it before. In Dorset from 1963 to 75, I believe, they parked a ship the ice whale off the Dorset coast and sprayed lots of nasty stuff, biological chemicals, E. coli, anthrax mimicking agents, and various other stuff. And then they had various, there's Porton Down, Biological Trial Centre, Porton Down experimental place. I think it's still open, is it? And asked whether they were still doing things like that now, the MOD said, well, we can't possibly comment on ongoing operations, etc. You know. That's the ice whale. And then they had various monitoring stations set up to check out how everybody was doing, in case the Russians attacked, you know. That's great. There's all the, you can check this out, the DICE trials and Dorset biological trials. Please check it out. I'm just saving a bit of time. Owning the weather by 2025. Again, a document from designed for, written for the United States Air Force. I'm not blaming the United States for everything. This is a global problem. NATO is spraying us. Unmarked military jets are spraying us. Private companies like Evergreen Air, which is a CIA front, may be spraying us. A lot of good indications that they may be spraying. When you look at some of the people involved, then it's very likely that this Evergreen Air story is real. Evergreen International. So owning the weather by 2025, and they go into great detail, at great length, about how they can manipulate the atmosphere and own the weather by 2025. I'd say they were pretty on target. Pretty well on target. Applying weather modification to military operations, etc., etc., etc. So big reports, owning the weather by 2025. Check that out. This is how the chemtrails spread out. And what goes up must come down, I guess. So our job is to alert the public that this is happening and encourage others to do the same. It was like that on Friday the 13th, actually, in January, around Dorset. I've got video, over 50 hours of footage that I personally filmed myself of Dorset being absolutely hammered, generally, with the chemtrails. And you can watch them spread out. Go to my YouTube channel, sorry to plug it, but Free Truth Show, as you live here, you'll see 50 hours of aircraft spraying, contrails, chemtrails, the difference, everything. Free Truth Show, YouTube. And you see that a lot. They're flying a bit close together, aren't they? That's not the Bournemouth Air Festival. That's quite common. A lot of people are alarmed. They ring in County Clare the other day. They rang in, hundreds of people rang into the station, concerned about these flights doing circles. So it was in Clare, County Clare as well. That's virtually the west of Ireland. What's in them? A lot of people around the world are suffering from skin complaints. We spoke to the Mayor of Salisbury. Sam handed out some leaflets with me on the SKID day, the Salisbury Chemtrail Info Day. Southampton, Salisbury, we're going to Reading next to hand out leaflets. And luckily we bumped into the Mayor of Salisbury, and his wife had to have, out riding her bike, and the bits of skin that were exposed became very rashy, and she had to have her rings cut off because her hands swelled out so much. And the Mayor was very much in agreement that it is going on, and he's not happy about it.
He won't be there for long then.
So that was quite a surprise. So there are people there available to help you. You may be in the lodge, I don't know, but there are people there to help. Actually, incidentally, I'll be taking questions after the talk, if that's okay. So I'm a bit all over the place and I'm easily distracted, so forgive me if I'm ignoring any questions or signals from the audience. We found, well, I haven't found, but Carnicom Institute, the Carnicom Institute has found various fibres. People are suffering the health effects bad We know the flu-like symptoms that persist and hang around. We know that Alzheimer's from the aluminium oxide is a problem. We know that bronchial problems are through the roof. We know that allergies have spiraled out of control. We're all getting zapped by peanuts. That's the problem, yeah? That's why asthma is through the roof. Cancers are 1 in 2 now. When I was a kid, I didn't know anybody with cancer, actually. And by the time I got to 15, I perhaps knew a friend or that was suffering from it, that knew a friend or something. But now, apparently it's 1 in 2. And doctors are taught that it's quite normal. The doctor's out of school, out of medical school now. Just give them lots of drugs, or actually you're lucky if you're seen by a doctor these days. If you go to an NHS hospital in England, you are taking your life, you are risking your life. So even minor operations really. They're switching off people's food and liquids and everything, they're murdering people in hospitals. Now that does sound a bit nuts, but I encourage you to do your own research, and I guarantee you'll come to the same conclusion. So Morgellons it's not a disease, it's the result of bioengineered fibres that are coming out from the chemtrails. Whole towns are getting problems with this after heavy spraying. Whole towns are becoming sick after heavy spraying in America, etc. And these are the type of effects that you get. I know somebody in Hastings, Anne from Hastings Against Chemtrails, she's got fibres coming out of her fingers and thumb. I've seen video footage of a woman wiping the bottom of her foot, and these white fibres are just continuously coming out, like little worms. And a lot of the fibres are self-replicating. What does that tell you? A lot of them over hundreds of degrees temperature, when they're exposed to them, don't burn. What does that tell you? Some are even fluorescent under the microscope. So we're talking about, I don't know, nanotechnology or something. Now I'm going a bit way off the track here, but it is way off the track. But the effects and the lesions that people are getting and suffering, I know one woman was supposed to give a talk, bless her heart, she couldn't do it. Her daughter had committed suicide after being driven to drink because no doctor would help her. People are desperate. I even heard somebody jumping out of a plane or a helicopter or something. People are so desperate from the itching, you know, it makes your skin crawl. So apparently every one of us has these kind of, a large percentage of us, according to Clifford Carnicom from Carnicom Institute, where all the analysis is done and can be seen on the web for everyone to publish. It's under a lot of pressure. You can see these fibres and various other things. Red blood cells, I'll show you. Here's some of the fibres. At 60 magnification. Nano communications array. I'm not certain of that, but they do look very strange and they shouldn't be in your body, whatever they are. These kind of things. Could be anything. But also you get types, fluorescent ones at the end there. These fibres are fluorescent. I mean, what the hell are these things? They light up. As well as the heavy metals that are in your blood. None of this should be in your system. That's the gel. There's the gel been found in various things. And the funny thing is, each patient has, many patients have different reactions to this stuff, and some don't get affected at all. About 25% don't get affected at all. And there you can see lots of things from this. That's Vegas. Vegas all spreading out. Chemtrail, chemtrail, chemtrail. And another big problem is the tetrad towers that you see on the buildings all around town, and every town in the Western world, as far as I know. It may be everywhere. And these pulse out. It's supposed to be for emergency services, police, radios, communications. But people are getting ill when they're living here. And because we don't talk to each other very much these days. I share wood and apples with my neighbour, and I do it deliberately. People I've never spoken to on the road, I've started speaking to them a bit more. Because we don't do that anymore, people who live on these blocks of flats, in Canada for example, one example, they're all getting ill, and because they didn't speak to each other, they didn't know that they were all getting exactly the same symptoms once these things went up. So if you've got them by your house, campaign to get them removed, or move yourself, or do something else. Here are the strange things. I forget what that is, and my notes are moving a bit around. But that's the red blood cells that have been found. That's Chester, Arkansas. Pretty patterns in the sky. That's a kind of an asterisk. And I've seen one over Bournemouth, I'll show you it later, over Procter & Gamble. One subject I did want to get to was the BBC spin. The BBC is not independent. Sorry, never was. Great plays, etc., but you know, lots of programming. And they failed to mention here that that wasn't a real cloud. Maybe a researcher missed that one, or nobody, you know, it's so common. Oh, it looks like a fan or something, yeah. That's from the weather show. Well, I've seen the weather show where they're showing clear chemtrails, and this is where we're winning with the information, because now, as opposed to a few years ago, a year ago even, we're seeing spin, spin, spin of these. They're having to come out and address the fact that these chemtrails are happening in the sky is different. Or, that's odd. Isn't that odd? But don't worry about it. Everything's fine. I'm going to talk to you like a child. If you notice, that's a technique. The presenters talk to you like a child. See? Mustn't scare the sheep. It's actually a neuro-linguistic technique, I believe. And I've seen the weather girl on breakfast, BBC Breakfast, blonde-haired girl, I forget which, and she's going, this is nothing to worry about, this is a strange phenomenon, that it's quite rare, but next, don't worry about it. I've got another one here from Chicago. This is Tammy Souza from Fox News, Chicago, talking about the weather and how they're having a heat wave in January 2012. Having a heat wave, a bit like we did in December, wasn't it? December? We had a kind of unnatural heat wave. Nice, but you know, what's causing it? There she goes. She said, these are the skies over Chicago today. These wispy clouds here, they're nothing really to worry about. They're probably clear. And that's actually, I would say, personally I would say, from 3 years or 4 years of looking at the sky, that's chemtrail. Sorry about the accent, I love Americans, I'm not taking the mickey. But in fact, on, I think it was January the 5th, luckily someone took a photograph and independently put it on YouTube, showing the real reason why it looked like that day. Chicago, Chicago. So there's the truth, while Fox News is not telling you the whole truth. Why is that? Because they're banker-owned whores. That's Hanover, Germany. Hanover, Germany. Tic-tac-toe, anybody? Minnesota. Minnesota. Should have put my computer there, shouldn't I? That's Minnesota. That's Harpy Sky from Harp, H-A-A-R-P. Please look it up. I'll get to it. That's one I took. The date is wrong. It's that was this last year, the end of last year. I think it was October, November. Pretty much like the BBC one. That's Dorset, England, Parkston, Alderney. Again, more chemtrails. That one's being freshly laid, you can see. Is that one just about to crash? Should we bring up the RAF? We're concerned. We're very worried that some kind of Battle of Britain is going on or something. Never heard of chemtrails, mate. I rang up the RAF. We're putting you on notice, I said. These chemtrails, hold on a second, chemtrails? Yeah, the chemtrails, the aerosol spraying, the Geo-Engineering, the weather modification. Yeah, I think they're contrails. Flight Lieutenant Lytton fobbed me off, put me onto their PR department. Everyone's got a PR department now. It's called that funky name for propaganda. I didn't even contact them. Who's delivering this stuff? How are they getting all this megatons of aluminium oxide? And one of the people is Rentokil. I used to work for Rentokil. And I still do. No, I'm joking. Rentokil is one of the companies, and Trimac, Rentokil is like a UK subsidiary of it or something. Trimac have been named as a possible supplier of the trucks to the places where, we don't know where, because it's a black operation, the chemtrail planes are filled up with stuff. So you wonder who's doing it. Unusual truck activity across the US. Trimac is owned by Rentokil of the United Kingdom. They haul pesticides and chemicals for BASF, DuPont, big Illuminati family, and Bayer. Bayer, I think, is a pharmaceutical company. And most Rockefeller, who's a eugenics demon, owns most of the pharmaceutical companies. So keep taking the shot, folks. Vaccines are not there to help you, they're there to damage you as part of depopulation. So is that. Some nice colours there. But there is hope. There is hope. Suffolk County, Long Island. They go and talking to their representatives. They get 30 seconds each. About a dozen of them got up and said, no, 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 we know what's going on. You bunches of, you guys are complicit in genocide. We don't know anything about it. Words to that effect. You're a doctor, etc., etc., etc. Why are you allowing this to go on? And they hope to get some legislation passed that would stop it. And it went through for a while to the next stage, and then it wasn't passed. So they probably didn't even look at the evidence. Whatever! They're not allowed to even talk about chemtrails. I'd like you to try a little experiment. Go up to a policeman and say, "Are those chemtrails up there, officer?" The English police are trained, and I'm not joking, I've done it twice, try it. If you ever get stopped or something, you know, it's brilliant. But out cutting through the matrix on your car or something, people don't get stopped for months. Well, chemtrails, look up, you know, put it in your car. The English police are trained to turn around and walk away in the opposite direction if a member of the public mentions chemtrails. Sorry, I've got another job coming. Policeman actually lied to me. Said, "Sorry, I've got to go. I've got another job in." So that's the sorry, that's the type of response you can expect from the police. Personally, I hope we convince many of the police and many of the military to be on our side, because we need them. We're going to need them, and the higher echelons are going to need to be encouraged to arrest their superiors at some stage before we all snuff it from this stuff peacefully. Call it a coup d'etat, call it a revolution, call it whatever you like. These guys hold the weapons, and it is sometimes the only language they understand. You are not protecting the public. I'm arresting you, etc., etc. Court-martial, whatever, jail, Something like that needs to happen, because it's pointless going to the police, it's pointless going to Greenpeace, it's pointless going to your government. We're on our own. We have to stop this somehow. And the only way I can see us doing that is if we alert as many people as possible. And if 1 million people know about it, then maybe 5 million people will know about it, because people don't know. People don't know that it's happening. They literally don't know. They think it's normal, or they don't even bother looking up. Something is wrong. People are in a trance. They need to wake up, and it's our duty and responsibility now to do that. To get out there 24 hours a day if you can. Otherwise, humanity is toast. The effects on our health are incalculable. So it's people's public responsibility now, their duty, to warn others that this is happening. And hopefully, if momentum builds up, then enough people might be able to stop it. Something will happen that will stop this. It can't go on. We can't allow it to go on. Simple as that. And so people are doing this, and I'm sorry to say, apart from raising awareness, which is really important, maybe it's worth doing things like this to raise awareness. It gets thousands of hits on YouTube or something, and new people become aware of it. But ultimately it's fruitless, because they have no power to stop it. I want to talk about, that's a symbol for Trimac, the deliverers. The deliverers. Possibly. I may have broken 10 libel laws already. The medical establishment, various government agencies, Greenpeace, whatever. Sue me. Sue me. That's the trucks delivering Trimac stuff. They're supposed to be marked, etc., with numbers, so you know where they are and where they're going. Now they're not. Now they're not marked. That's the Rhone Valley over France. That's north. That's the Rhone Valley. I would say they're not contrails. So that Switzerland is not in the Open Skies Treaty. So don't spray them, otherwise you're in trouble. Flight Lieutenant, whatever. But yeah, they get the chemtrail drift. So that's just all puff, the treaties, etc. That's from space. And you might recognise this area. That's the English Channel. France, England, Isle of Wight, Bournemouth is off the map as usual. And here are the long streaks of cloud. Yeah? That was January the 16th, January the 18th, 2012. Now, in Bournemouth you'll notice they fly mainly from north to south. And it looks like they're going over Hastings or something. Generally they fly from north to south, leaving the chemtrails. So they're taking off from somewhere north of London. It's not Bournemouth. I'm pretty sure it's not Bournemouth. And flying south. There's a NATO base here in Rem. I may have got that pronunciation wrong. I would ask Royston, but he's asleep. Okay. He works very hard. So there's a NATO base there, and they may be taking off from there, who knows. But they generally fly north to south over this land, over the ancient kingdom of Wessex, which is now being sprayed with chemtrail. This is the Ecuadorian president. He said on video, if these planes carry on spraying over my country, we will shoot them down.
He's still alive.
That's what the president said, apparently. He's still alive. This is, his name escapes me. He's head of a big environmental group in Croatia, I believe. And he's appealed to the military for help and to stand up and get a backbone and protect your women and children from the GMO foods being imported, which is very cancerous. Eat organic food when you can. We're under attack from all different levels. Remember what I said, it's a war on humanity. And this chap, he's since been arrested. He's also called for the military to help stop these chemtrail planes from flying over and spraying them. Serbia. Alexic, his name is Alexic. And so they've arrested him and confiscated all his contents of his flat. And taken his flat as well, actually. And at the moment we don't know his fate. But people are desperate and they're willing to put their neck on the line, but they can't get all of us. We're just trying to tell the truth. We're just trying to warn people that they're under attack, that it's very bad for the environment and our children. We're doing nothing wrong, we're peaceful. And that's it. It's the same in history, really. Again, there's some more. That's 1998. I added these little things here. Not everyone's writing on their roofs and fences. Castle Point, 2011. That's from Infonisation channel, YouTube. Great chap, Adam, running around giving leaflets around Dorset, Parkson. It's a bit War of the Worlds, that one, isn't it? Woo! Next we'll be talking about trying to pull off a fake alien invasion over the Olympics or something. Who knows what these nuts are going to do? That's pre-9/11, obviously. Chemtrail, chemtrail, chemtrail. I can tell you that's chemtrail. Well, that's a big wodge there, you see. This is HAARP in Alaska, H-A-A-R-P. HAARP. Climatic manipulation by the US military. The HAARP program. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP, based in Kokona, Alaska, has been in existence since 1992. It is part of a new generation of sophisticated weaponry under the US Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, operated by the Air Force Research Laboratory Space Vehicles Directorate. HAARP constitutes a system of powerful antennas capable of creating controlled modification of the ionosphere. HAARP will be used to induce a small localized change in ionospheric temperature so that the resulting physical reactions can be studied by other instruments located at or close to the HAARP site. It's been called a super powerful radioactive beaming technology that lifts areas of the ionosphere by focusing a beam and heating those areas. And you wonder about the heat waves in winter sometimes. Electromagnetic waves then bounce back onto the Earth and penetrate everything living and dead. So that's the one in Alaska. World-renowned scientist Dr. Rosalie Bertell depicts HAARP as, she's now 80, as a gigantic heater that can cause major disruptions in the ionosphere, creating not just holes but long incisions in the protective layer that keeps deadly radiation from bombarding the planet. That is absolutely nuts. Experimenting with our climate and the effects on our watery type bodies and our minds is something else to be looked at, something else to be investigated in. Make you feel happy? All masses of people walking around shopping, and then everyone's very depressed. Oh God. it's very common. It's very common. So seasonal affective disorder, I guess they'd call it. SAD. But if you're here today and you're like me, it means you're odd. Apparently there's a thing now. If you've got oppositional defiance disorder, take the Ritalin, take the drugs. Something wrong with you if you don't like what I do. If I, or something, you know. That's tyranny, you know. It's nuts. According to Richard Williams, a physicist and consultant to the David Sarnoff Laboratory in Princeton, HAARP constitutes an irresponsible act of global vandalism. He and others fear a secret second stage where HAARP would beam much more energy into the ionosphere that could produce a severe disruption of the upper atmosphere at one location that may produce effects that spread rapidly around the Earth. So it's weather warfare. This is one in Wales. This is in Wales, not far from here. There's one in Norway, and they have massive ones that are domes, that are seaborne on ships, and they're building more and more and more. Apparently China's up to speed now as well. So you punch a lot of electromagnetic power into the atmosphere, you triangulate it, point it to whatever way you want on the Earth, create a drought here, possibly make it rain here, make it more hot there, or fry a few dolphins in a ram or something, you know, whatever you want. It's all linked by one supercomputer apparently, so it's a bit disturbing to think that there's some mad scientist sitting there pushing the button, playing a big video game with our brains and our environment, you know. Some figure. It's probably Tony Blair. No, trust me. He's now working as a consultant for Rothschild. Hey! What a surprise. And apparently Mandelson boasted that he was running England from a Rothschild swimming pool in France. Come on! The Prince of Darkness. He was European Trade Minister. That's a lot of power. That's a lot. Lots of deals, you see. Lots of deals. So weather warfare, a corporate bonanza. I would urge everyone to look at HAARP. I was going to suggest that we have a break, but I haven't got much more to go through. So how do you feel about a little break now? I'm a bit worried some of you might not come back or something, so I'll carry on for another 20 minutes. How's that? Okay?
Yep.
Okay, Margaret?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
One of the designers, Eastlund, described this deadly technology as capable of causing total disruption of communications over a large portion of the Earth, missile or aircraft destruction, deflection or confusion, weather modification. So when you talk about, when William Cohen, the former US Defense Secretary, talked about tectonic weapons, that they exist and terrorists might use them in the future, he was probably talking about things like this. So you combine it with the chemtrails produce a plasma, and you've got a canvas, a conductor, to pump it full of electromagnetic energy and place it anywhere you want on the globe. Is that what happened in Japan from the tsunami? Is that what happened in Haiti? Is that what happened in Chile? Is that why we're getting more earthquakes from when records began in the 50s? Is it? It's a possibility. I'm suggesting that it is. They've got the technology, they've admitted they've got it, or that it exists, and you're going to bet, you know, that it's going to be in the hands of the people with all the money and the alleged power. Not surprisingly, the patent had been previously sealed under a government secrecy order. It talks about the various systems there. It's going to take some sorting out when I get back home. So we've got this weather weaponry. Raytheon's technology BAES was to develop HARP, Ionospheric Research Instrument, 2003. BAE Systems Advanced Technologies outsourced the production and installation of the antennas to Phasar Corp, a company specializing in advanced wireless antenna for military use. It's all out there. It's all out there. It's not even declassified, a lot of it, although they are beginning to close down various websites, official websites of theirs, so it's less difficult to get the information. And that goes into the testing. I might make a little book of this or something and get it out to people. But it's all there on the net to see. All I can do is pull out articles and give you my opinion, and perhaps spur yourselves into warning the people as many as possible.